evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net Radio 8 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM, Western Washington Amateur Television Society, a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, Google our homepage, WW7ATS. That's WW7ATS. That'll take you to our homepage. There you'll find some information about our organization, also the frequencies that we transmit on, and also on the front page is a link that will take you to YouTube, where we stream our nets held Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. We'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a tone of 103.5 for our voice transmissions during our nets. So with that, I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact before our net gets fully underway. This is Dave, KD7CYM. Hearing none, again, welcome to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. So far checked in by video is Bert, N7CS, Bob, K9PQ, Wade, W7ITL, Jim, N7QO, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. If there's anybody else that would like to check in. None. We'll get the net going underway. Let's start off with Bert, N7CS, back from cruising.
Well, let's see, make sure I'm transmitting. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. It's been about a month since I've been at home, so got back, I think, when was it, late Monday night. My flight was delayed for a couple hours, but finally made it back. I guess technically it was Tuesday morning by the time I got home. But I apologize if you're seeing any video flickering on the screen. I don't know what is going on with that. I will have to update the software or computer a little bit later. It probably has 1 month of updates to run that still need to go. But if I do that now, I probably won't be back the rest of the net, so I'll do it after the net, so you'll just have to put up with the flickering for now. Let's see what else is going on. Curious if anybody's going to be going to the Mike and Key swap meet. I think that's happening this Saturday. I saw that Rich, KF7BJI, sent out an email saying he was going to be meeting people for breakfast at 7. That's a little bit too early for me, though, so I probably won't show up for that breakfast, unless I can't, sleep or whatever, but otherwise I'll probably go and check out what goodies they have there. But anyway, this is Bert in Marysville, N7CS. I'm glad I'm back on the net, so back to you, Dave.
Yes, let's go on to Bob, K9PQ in Bothell.
Okay, well, welcome back, Bert, and definitely interested in hearing about your travels and seeing some pictures, too. I just got my pad to see what notes I have, and of course I have no notes. So, my big excitement this week has been replacing my furnace. That's the second most money I've spent without getting anything new in return, or any new functionality. The first was to have my cat repaired. Oops, somebody is not muted. There we go. Okay, we got Dave muted. Getting the furnace, part of it that added a little bit more is the fact that mine's in the attic, which they don't do anymore. The guy told me the new thing, rather than putting furnaces in the attic. Hang on just a second, please. Okay. To do things rather than putting furnaces in the attic is to put them, in like condos, they'll set aside a small room, like like maybe a walk-in closet size, and the furnace and the water heater will all go into that. So that's how they get around that. Because man, I've been up there, and it's hard enough for me moving around up there by myself, but they had 3 people up there at one time. So most of the day it was 2 people, and then a third was added late in the day. Okay, with that, I will send it back. This is Bob, K9PQ.
Q, let's go on with Wade, W7ITL.
ITL, just give me a moment here. I'll switch in. You'll be able to see me now. I'm going to mute my TV so it's not so loud over here. I'm going to do a little slideshow. I've been doing some hobby kind of work on soldering, and thought I'd show you a couple pictures of my solder station. So this is got this yesterday. Got it all set up with a rework desolder and soldering iron station, and then a new mat and some various accessories. Let me show you a couple other things I got. I got this. It's like a telescope, but it's probably hard to see because it's kind of big on the screen. But I'm going to probably return it because I found it really hard to do solder work with a telescope that has a video camera. So I might just give it back to Amazon and maybe buy a cheaper solution, like maybe some jeweler glasses or something, because it was just really hard to do work. I end up just using my glasses and just getting really close to the board to do the surface mounts. But here's the board that I worked on. It's a Apple Classic. That's the caps before I did it. There was 8 caps that I replaced. Let's see if I can show you. There's a close-up of some caps that I did. And there's some more. Let's see if I can. Oh, and there's all the caps done. It's really hard to see everything in the picture, but yep, it's all done now, and I got a working Apple Classic now with working sound, and it actually boots. It wasn't booting or randomly booting, but now I got it booting every time, and the sound wasn't working, but now it's working. Just recapping the board. That's me just sharing for this round. I'd like to hear more about Bert's adventures on the cruise, so I'll turn it back to Dave, W7ITL.
ITL, thanks for that. Let's go on to Jim in Covington, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Well, let's see, what can I say? I'm getting a lousy picture on the 1.2 gigahertz tonight. It's intermittent, it's all black and white, and yeah, the big thing is it's intermittent. But I can see some stuff anyway. Wade, cool Apple board there. I'm guessing that was a motherboard. Looked like you did some pretty good work on that. Soldering station, yeah, that looks pretty cool. I don't know. You might want to try getting the new glasses before you turn that thing, that television set back in. It gets worse as you get older. That's all I can say about that. Let's see. Bert, gone a month, but the wife's at home working. That sounds like a good gig if you can get it. Actually, that's the way I was planning for things to work for me. But not too awfully long before I retired, they changed the mandatory retirement age. so I was able to work an additional 5 years, so I did. And I'll tell you what, that just about killed me. Mike and Key Club, I don't know. The jury's still out on whether or not I'm going on that. My wife has some tentative plans, but I don't really want to do that. But we'll see what happens here. Bob, new furnace. Yeah, sorry about that. I need one myself. I've been delaying it as long as possible. I haven't lived in a condo, but I've lived in a number of different apartments, and I've never had an attic where the furnace was in the attic. They've always been in separate, a separate little closet. Although I have been to friends' houses where the furnace and the water heater were both in the attic. I never thought that was a really good idea, but anyway, you gotta go with what you got. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
N7QO, thanks for that. And we'd like to get another ID out here. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, let's go to James, WU7N in Bellevue.
Thank you, Dave. How's the audio coming through tonight? I did another antenna change. Is it working?
Full quieting, and also back to Jim, N7QO. His audio was perfect tonight, too.
I always appreciate this net. I'm always trying something new, and it's always gratifying when it actually works. Well, let's see. My notes here. Furnace replacement. Bob, you said you paid the most for something you didn't really get, but I think you actually got a lot from, I was kind of tracking that with you as you went. 4 guys groaning and moaning up in your attic there. I think whatever you paid for that, that was a deal because it wasn't you. Well, let's see, Wade, I don't see you on the screen now, but if you can hear me now, it looks like you are doing some fantastic restoration work and really are getting serious there with that setup. But no, don't get your face close to the work. Actually, when I do that kind of small work, I just use a large lens, and you can spend as much as you want. I just got a cheapy plastic one that I end up using most of the time from Harbor Freight because I don't care if I scratch that one up. So that's, I don't know, 4 or 6 inch diameter lens with a light in it built into it. And then I have a nicer one too, but I actually, to be honest, haven't got the nicer one in service yet. But the nicer one actually was apparently one time in a doctor's office for microsurgery. See, Jim, wife's tentative plans. I don't think you understand the vocabulary. That means you're going to be doing what she wants. So anyway, just to front load you on that, I do translations at any time. Bert, you definitely have the max headroom thing going there. It goes like a gray screen, and I can just see some red on there. Maybe that's a blip vert. If you remember the original pilot, they had blip verts that were subliminal advertising for people that would just flash on for a minute. But then especially sedentary people who would watch TV all day, they would eventually explode by watching the blip verts, causing a big mess in the room they were in. For those of you who don't remember the pilot, that was a classic out of the 90s. How predictive, how predictive. Anyway, this is James, WU7N. That's me for the first round. I'll turn it back to our net control. This is WU7N in Northeast Bellevue. Take it away, Dave, KD7ZYM.
WU7N, James, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I've got 39 degrees outside and drizzle here in Lake City. And for Bob, boy, a furnace. I spent $5K last year putting a new furnace in, but the good news was I met with my tax guy this Monday, and I got my paperwork all out of the way, and I was able to recoup a refund of about 50% on that furnace that I put in on taxes. So it's a deductible item in taxes for a furnace and a hot water tank. If you do that, keep your records, and your tax person will love you for it, and will get you some money back in your pocket. So that's about it. Oh my. And Wade, very interesting. I like that little microscope thing with the screen. It really looked like you got a great view, but I can see where your fingers get in the way of the camera if you're trying to solder things. So anyway, good luck with that. Maybe just a magnifying glass would work, or magnifying glasses. Anyway, it's hard to keep the light right. Otherwise, you get the shadows in the wrong places, and you can't see what you're really doing. I have had that experience in the past. Outside of that, everything's fine. I did get a text from Lee who said he will not be with us tonight. He's doing his Port Angeles Radio Club meeting tonight. That's in 7KC. So anyway, he'll hopefully be with us Saturday. So this is Dave, KD7ZYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. So let's go back up to Bert, N7CS.
Okay, yeah, so Dave, if a furnace is deductible on taxes, I'll have to check into that. I was not aware. I can't think of how that would work, but I had to, because I replaced mine not too long ago too, although I don't know if it was, I can't remember if it was actually in 2022 or if it may have been like at the tail end of 2021. But now I definitely need to check into that. That's one of the reasons I came home for a while, so I could finish taxes and get that stuff all sent off to the accountants. But yeah, it was 3 cruises in a row that I did. The second and third cruise was kind of interesting because when the second one ended, my third cruise left on the same day that the second one ended. So to accomplish that within the port of Miami, I had to run from one ship, well not run, but walk from one ship to another ship in a different terminal in the hot heat of Miami. So it all worked out, but that was quite the adventure because they didn't have like nice sidewalks the complete way. So I had to like sometimes hop across the street, come back to the other side. There were some nice police officers that would kind of stop traffic and let me do that in some cases because some of those areas were very high traffic areas. But let's see. Oh wait, yeah, you were like recapping some card or something. I didn't quite tell what that was, so maybe sorry I missed what it was that you were recapping. And let's see, what else do we have? Well, it's probably good for now. So this is Bert in Marysville, and N7CS back to that.
CS, thanks for that. Let's go on to Bob, K9PQ in Bothell.
I have a request for Bert. Before I put my image on, could you stand up so we can see your t-shirt? I just want to see. Okay, so this is very strange. You have another camera apparently interfering with your current camera. That image is what's blipping onto the screen when it's blipping. I've seen it a few times. I don't know how, but that's what I'm seeing. Anyway, okay, let me switch to me. Okay, well that is a very strange one, especially if you don't have another camera. Check, if you're using a laptop, check the built-in camera on your laptop. So Apple Classic, Wade, I am not that familiar with Apple stuff, but is that before the Apple IIe? I don't know what the Apple Classic is. I'd love to know exactly what that is. Jim, I agree with you. Water heater in the attic does not sound like a good idea at all. I have had water heaters leak before, and man, what a bad idea. The furnace in the attic is just a pain, you know, because you got to go and change the filter, which means I got to get a ladder out, climb the ladder, go up in there. At least they did put down floorboards, or you know, just regular boards, not across the whole thing, but enough to walk and move around a little bit. James, yeah, the poor guy's in the attic. Yeah, speaking of which, it is not easy to get around. As I mentioned, I've been up there several times, and you know, I can move around, but it's a chore for me to move around because what they've done, I'm sure just mainly because they're cheap, and they used, I don't know if they're called joists, whatever it is that holds the roof up, apparently were not strong enough just by themselves, so they put all these cross braces in. So there are cross braces everywhere interfering with you trying to move around up there. It's awful. It's not a place you want to be. So yes, I think I did get get the better of that deal. Also, max headroom, man, that takes me back. It goes back a ways, and it did actually remind me of max headroom a little bit once you said that. Dave, yeah, I have tried doing deductions on tax records a few times, and the deductions I had never got past my my standard deduction. So if you're itemizing, you make more money than I ever did. So good for you. I'm happy for you. And I'm really surprised you could deduct for your furnace at home, unless it's like your place of business or something. I don't know how that you can do that. That's a new one. I guess maybe it's considered like a personal loss or something. I'll have to check on that. Well, in this case, it won't matter for me, but it'll be interesting to know about that. Okay, I'll send it back to you, K9PQ.
Coleman to Wade, W7ITL. Wade said in for this round, so let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, let's see. Jim, thanks for the translation, but I've got to say, yeah, I always do what my wife wants, but I also always try to convince her rather discreetly that what she really wants to do is what I want to do. It doesn't always work, but it's worth a shot anyway. What can I say? And let's see. Oh yeah. Bob and Bert. It seems to me that the deductions to which Dave is referring has to do with getting a furnace which is more energy efficient than the one that you have. If you replace your existing one with something more efficient, a tax credit may be in order. You'd have to look into the details. I have not yet done so. I'll worry about mine after I replace my furnace, but that has something to do with the environment, protecting the environment, etc. So certainly worth looking into, but that would be the area. Some sort of energy credit, I think, is what they call it. Anyway, I see a beautiful picture of, I can't quite make it out. I think it's a church. I'm guessing that's coming from Bob, but I can't tell that for sure either. Anyway, if someone could let me know that whenever. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
7QO, let's go to James, WU7N in Bellevue.
Okay, Jim, WU7N Northeast Bellevue. Well, I saw a great short on YouTube a couple months ago. It was called The Manslater instead of a translator, and it was what someone said into the what someone said versus what they really meant, and it was oriented for communications between couples. I thought it was very funny. Good short. I don't know if you heard me before or not, but it looks like you're doing superb work there. Look forward to your explanation of an Apple Classic versus the Apple IIe, where that fits into the tree of life of apples back in the 1980s. fantastic work. I was just going to say, I don't know if you heard me or not, but I use a very inexpensive plastic lens with a light built into it on an arm that I got from Harbor Freight. I have a nicer version of that, but I end up using the cheap plastic one all the time. But be sure to keep that face far away from those boards when you solder on them. Actually, let's see, it was the early 80s when terminals were expensive and the barriers were just being broken on that. There was, we had to case off a terminal, plugged it in, and the transistors actually physically exploded like itty-bitty blasting caps. And it was quite a shock, no pun intended, to everyone in the room. And after that, there was renewed interest in making sure we had good eye protection on in that lab. And we called the company that manufactured those, and they said, yeah, we weren't the first ones to have that, and they were recalling them as fast as they could. Anyway, it looks like your solder station there is really a superb setup. I wish you lived closer. I'd like to see it live and in person. So anyway, I see it's 8:26. Actually, I'm not feeling great, so I don't know how long I'm going to be able to hang in here with the net, but I'm going to do my best. This is James WW7N. Let's go back to Dave, KD7ZYM, our net control. Go ahead, Dave.
That James, this is Dave, KD7ZYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. Oh, getting back to Bob, yes, it is tax credit for efficiency of the furnace that you're able to deduct. And let's see, I get back to Bert with his travels. I see where norovirus is back plaguing the wonderful people on those big ships now. So I don't know what's happening there. There was, I think, 300 people was reported got overcome by norovirus on one to the Caribbean just recently. So anyway, those are bad news. And then we're talking about furnaces and attics. I go back in my career almost about 30 years ago when modular housing units were really great for putting apartments together. And I was up filming some of this stuff going in, and I was in the attic area of one of those, walking a plank while the guy was working on the furnace, and the next thing I knew, my legs had given away with the board I was standing on, and my feet penetrated through the ceiling, and there was a couple of little holes, and the guy just sort of chuckled and says, oh, that's no problem, we'll take care of that right away. So anyway, that was my falling through the roof and the attic to the floor below. Just the wall board had gone through, so that was kind of a bad deal. But anyway, that was kind of interesting. So that was about it. So anyway, I'll send it back up to Bert, N7CS.
Okay, yeah, I was checking, so yeah, it looks like my furnace was put in 2022, and I was checking to see what kind of tax credits there are. It looks like if it's Energy Star certified, you potentially can get up to 30% back of the project cost, up to $600 maximum, which doesn't sound like anywhere close to half the price of the furnace, so there might be something else. But yeah, I'll have to look into that. But yeah, Wade, nice job on that, upgrading that Mac Classic logic board. That sounds pretty cool. I've used those old Macs, I remember back in middle school or something, but I don't think, and then in college we used some of the newer Macs, so I've got some floppy disks from college that have like papers I wrote that I can't read now, but I don't think the Mac Classic will read it. I probably need a slightly something between like those and modern Macs to be able to read it, but oh, and yeah, the cruise ship viruses and stuff. Yeah, so on my first cruise actually, the one I did with my wife, the one where we went to South Africa back in late January, we actually did get confined to our room for 2 full days because my wife had experienced some GI issues, and that was going around on the ship. So lots of people on the ship were having GI issues. So they were like quarantining anyone who had those issues and into their rooms for 2 days. So we missed two of our port excursions in the country of Namibia because we weren't able to get out of our cabin. But yeah, it sounds like some other stuff's going around on some of the ships lately. But anyway, this is Bert in Marysville, N7CS, back to that.
Excuse me, N7CS, that's fine. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ, and get another idea here. This is Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. So now, take Bob, K9PQ, in bottle.
Okay, well, first to Wade, thanks for the clarification of the Mac Classic. Yeah, the reason I thought it was before the Apple IIe is I thought I heard Apple Classic. And thanks for all that information about the more efficient furnace. That actually may apply to me. I'll look into that. And Jim, the image is Kylemore Abbey, Kylemore, in Ireland. It was from my Ireland trip, and the Abbey is actually very big. This is a small chapel that's on the same grounds. So that still image that you see is from inside that chapel. It's a pretty cool place, and also I mean, there's all over there in Ireland. You know, you hear about the potato famine. It was awful, far worse than I knew. And one of the things about this abbey was they took in lots of people, as many as they could. And there was also a memorial, well, a monument, I should say, for all of the ships that left from the west side of Ireland, the west coast of Ireland, at the town where I was staying, taking people to America so they could survive, because they literally just did not have enough food to survive. And it was, as I say, far worse than I ever knew. And they were, you know, many were saved. Thousands and thousands were saved by going to America. Okay, with that, I will send it back to Ned, K9PQ.
K9PQ, thanks for that. Let's see if Wade's with us. W7ITL. Tacoma.
W7ITL here, and I'm going to switch myself back in. Let's see if I can get myself in here. Can you guys see me now? Yep, looks like, there we go. Looks like we're coming in okay. So yeah, let me get my video back to my face. Yeah, that was my last round doing the Mac Classic repair kind of pictures. Yeah, it took me a few hours. I watched all these surface mount repair work that I see people do on YouTube, and it looks so easy. Then I tried to do it, and I was like, oh man, I need some practice on this. It took me a couple hours just to do 8 caps, but it's just because I didn't have, a steady hand and the best magnification with my glasses. So hopefully the next project will be a little more faster and go a little smoother if I get the other stuff that I was talking about. But this weekend is the Mike and Key Club swap meet, and I don't think I'm going to be going. I was able to convince my wife and my son to do a technician ham radio class at the Ham Radio Club of Tacoma, so they're going to hopefully get certified by next week as a technician. So they're going to do a two-day class, Saturday and Sunday, and then on Tuesday there's a test. So we'll see. But let's see, I think that's it. Other than that, we'll turn it back to Ned. All right, back to you, Dave.
ITL, thanks with that, Wade. Let's go to Jim, N7QO in Covington.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, my 1.2 picture is kind of a little bit better. It's more frequently on than it is off, and I am getting a splash of color now and then. Bob, thanks for mentioning that's Kylemore Abbey. I am seeing some color on there, but I think it's more like snow color than, I'm guessing that the place is not supposed to be various colors. I should see red, greens, and blues, but I'm guessing that's not what it's supposed to be. But yeah, Ireland. Thousands came to America to escape the famine. Man, a lot of really awful things went on during history. It's amazing. Let's see, Wade, your soldering mat on my 1.2 downlink intermittently it's black and white, but then every now and then it's blue. Does that mean it's really green? And I'm just kind of relating that to when I see Bob's green screen, it's blue on my 1.2 downlink. Just curious. And your wife and son going to ham radio class. That's great. My wife certainly has no interest in ham radio, but I don't know. So classes Saturday and Sunday, and then test Tuesday. We'll keep our fingers crossed. I'm sure they'll do great, unless they decide not to do it. So good luck with that. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
QO, let's see if James still with us. W7 or WU7N, James.
I am. This is WU7N, and I am still with you, hanging in here. Thank you very much. Well, Wade, okay, so YouTube, I call it YouTube Easy. I look at locksmithing videos and see these guys with locks that they've obviously worked with a great deal, and maybe even have the tolerances adjusted a little bit, because I can tell you it's just not that easy, having been there, done that. And it wouldn't surprise me if other things in other areas outside of locksmithing are kind of the same way. But yeah, it's never quite as easy as it looks on YouTube. I especially get a laugh out of these guys that, you know, say you can open any lock with a paper clip or something. I just don't think so. Anyway, Wade, technician family, yeah, that's going to be great. You'll all be able to talk with each other even when the internet's down, so that's a nice bonus. And Bob, Ireland, that is a country, the history actually kind of fascinates me. It's the conflict in particular, when the people are so similar that they have spent so much of history in conflict with each other. That's kind of an interesting aspect of Ireland and the British Islands. And also their status during World War II. I read a book on that, and that's very interesting if you've ever read that. They were officially neutral. Ireland was neutral, but they weren't really, and everybody knew it. It was all just a giant fig leaf throughout all of World War II. Well, anyway, let's see, it's 38 minutes after the hour. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Dave, our net control. This is WU7N, James in Northeast Bellevue, KD7ZYM. Go ahead.
Thanks with that. And this is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. And let's see, it's been an interesting net this evening. I just noticed that I'm seeing a black square on the internet with Ron's name on, so possibility that KD7QKU is there. So let's see if he's here. KD7QKU.
This is KD7QKU. Thank you, Dave. I'm surprised you're seeing a black screen. I see everybody on my computer. Bob has a black screen. So, sorry I'm late, you guys. Joanne's sister and brother-in-law came over this afternoon. They always like coffee at 3 o'clock, so they came for coffee, and of course coffee always leads to dinner. So Joanne had made a pot roast the other night, so we had pot roast. It was, if I might say so myself, pretty darn good. I missed out on most of what people were saying. I talked to Dave this afternoon. I forgot to tell him probably the most exciting thing. Today I went out to the garage and I was going to move the car and it wouldn't start. So we have, 2019 Jeep Cherokee. We bought it brand new. It did that a week or so ago, but we were over, actually taking Joanne to the doctor just up the street, and I was waiting for her. I think I'd even been listening to the radio a little bit, but not much, and went to push the button. You step on the brake pedal, push the button, the screen just goes black. Everything goes black. So we sat there a few minutes, and I wiggled everything and pounded on everything and tried it a couple more times, and then probably the sixth time, lo and behold, it started, run just fine. So then I went out this morning, same thing, except I couldn't get it to start. So we have AAA, so I called AAA. They were here within 30 minutes. I loaded it up and had them take it to the dealer. But they made me call the dealer before they would come and get it to make sure the dealer would take it for, without an appointment. So I called them. They said, oh, no problem, bring it over. Might be a while before we can look at it, but so it's over there. I got to call them in the morning. So I put a new battery in it about 2 months ago. I called AAA and they came out and put a new battery in, but it was a little bit different that time. It would at least go click, click, click and everything that time. But this time, nothing. The screen goes black. There's just nothing. So I don't know what's wrong with it. But we do have an extended service policy on it. And I checked to make sure that was still in. It looks like it's good for quite a few more years, so that's good. So anyway, who knows what's wrong with this? So let me let it drop. The reason I wanted to get it out of the garage is there's 2 steps that come from the garage into the house. And the steps are about 10 inches high. And they're just too high for old people, I'm telling you. It's just hard for us to get up and down. So I'm going to make another step at the bottom. I'm going to make it out of 2x6, little rectangular box, and it'll be 5.5 inches, and then put a piece of plywood on it. So it'll be about a 6-inch step, and then I'm going to raise the next step. I'm going to make it 3.5 inches higher. So they'll be almost 6 inches, 6 inches, and 6 inches. So that'll be much easier to get up and down. And then I'm going to go to the hardware store and get a couple of, they usually have them in showers. They're like bars you kind of grab onto when you're getting in and out of the shower, and put one on each side of the door so we can get in and out easier. So anyway, so I did go to the store, Home Depot, and I got the material. And I have the material now. I just have to wait for another decent day, and then I'll cut it up. I have a framing nailer, so I'll just start up my little air compressor and get out my nailer, nail it together, nail that bottom step to the existing step, and then put the deck on it, put the tread on it, I guess they call it. So that's what I've been up to. Back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU. Let's go to Bert, N7CS in Marysville.
Okay, let's see. Ron, that's well, sorry to hear about your truck, but it's at least you had some good luck with the tow truck drivers getting there in 30 minutes. I've never had to call a tow truck in Washington State, but back when I lived in Texas, I think there were 2 different instances where I needed to call somebody like AAA, and in both of those times, it took 3 to 4 hours before anyone ever showed up. So 30 minutes is really, really fantastic. Let's see, what else do I have going on here? Maybe, I don't know, maybe someone has some experience with this, but my wife has been running a fever today, and we've got a couple different digital thermometers, and they all seem to give kind of like wildly different results, a wide range of values. Even with the same thermometer, you run another check like a few seconds later, you might get something that's like a degree or two off. So it's like I don't trust anything these are saying. So I don't. The one I went out and bought a new one just because I didn't like what our current one was giving. And interestingly, the new one you have to actually tell it like where in the body you're giving the temperature or you're taking the temperature. I don't remember that in the old days having to do that. So it's like you have to say whether you're doing it on the head or the ear or the mouth or the other stuff you don't want to mention. But yeah. So but yeah, it just. I don't know. Are you supposed to just like take 3 and average it? I don't know. It just seems kind of weird there. I mean, but anyway, that's enough for now. So the Bert in Marysville and WCS, back to that.
WCS, thanks for that. Let's go on to Bob, G9PQ.
Okay, well, I don't have a whole lot to add to this except for Wade. This is what I use when I need to see up close high magnification. But for what you're doing, I don't think I'd want my face that close to the board. So I think what James had to say about the lighted magnifier is probably the better idea. That's about all I got this time. I think I'm all talked out. I'll see if there's anything with it next time. And oh yeah, sorry to hear, Ron, about the truck. I was kind of in the middle of something. I didn't hear the outcome. I hope everything got fixed and it's okay. I'll send it back to Nick. K9PQ.
Well, let's go to Wade, W7ITL in Tacoma.
W7ITL. I'm just going to turn it back to you, Dave. I don't really have any more to talk about, but it's been a good net. I'll see you guys 73. I'll just be hanging out, but I'm not going to do another round.
ITL, thanks for that. Well, let's pick up Jim, N7QO in Covington.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Bert, sorry to hear about your wife. I hope she feels better soon. I don't know for sure about the thermometers. I've only used one, but the readings have been consistent if I would take a second reading shortly after the first. So I don't know exactly what to say about that. I could see how there might be a difference in calibration between a couple of different thermometers because you're dealing with such a small range to begin with, a difference of a degree or two between having a fever and not. But I would think that a single unit should be consistent from one reading to the next. So I don't know. Good luck with that. Hope your wife feels better. Ron, the battery. Well, you replaced the battery recently. Do you think that was the problem? Do you think it's still the problem? I have seen friends who had problems with their vehicles where the battery would just keep draining. One time it turned out to be a power window. I think the switch malfunctioned, and then another fellow had a power door lock which malfunctioned, and yet another fellow had a CD changer which held multiple CDs. It was located in his trunk, and somehow that thing would never switch off when the car was powered down, and that was just draining the battery. It took him a long time to figure out what the problem was there. So if it's your battery, it might be something subtle like that's draining the battery. Oh, Jim, manslater? Huh. I wanted to ask you about that. Would I get into trouble if my wife watches that with me? Or would it be better if I watched that alone? Just curious. I don't need any more trouble. Back to you, Dave, and 7QO.
7QO. Thanks for that, Chip. Let's go to James, WW7N.
Okay, well, here's the magnifier that I use, and it has the side benefit, at least for small explosions, it might help a little bit between the cheapo plastic lens and see if I can get this right here. I don't know if that's working or not. I can't. Anyway, I'm not switched over, so you can't see that 1.2 gigahertz, but you can maybe see that on Zoom. Anyway, that's what I use. As I said, I have a much higher quality one, but I end up never using that one. I use the cheapo plastic one because it's just a lower value, and if it gets scratched or something gets dripped on it, I don't care. Oh, I see you said in the comment you did have a few caps blow up when you were decapping the board, just like popcorn. Well, yeah, it was more than popcorn when my experience with that. Bob, you look like you want to say something. Go ahead.
Switched in now if you want to show it again.
For anyone watching on 1.2 gigahertz or downlink, this is what the inexpensive Harbor Freight version looks like. And I even have an old curly bulb in there because when I turn it on, it usually gets 60 seconds to warm up. And it's I find it works quite well for magnifying work. Anyway, sorry about your wife, Bert, feeling bad. I hope she feels better. I had the same experience with thermometers during COVID. But I had one that just as COVID started that it conked out on me, and I called the company. It was Brom, or a big name company, and they just said basically, you're out of luck. I mean, we're not doing anything now. All warranties are basically null and void. I mean, it was all the start of COVID. But I eventually, after COVID, after they had a year or two to catch up with manufacturing, I bought a little optical one, and it can tell you anything you want to hear. I mean, or see on the display. It just depends where you point it. I don't think. I think most of the temperature measuring during COVID was pretty much theater. I don't think it really did much. On a Honda Civic, 2015 Honda Civic, the thing that got me is once I was parked undercover, thank goodness, but the trunk was just a 1/4 of an inch popped. That caused the light to go on, and the car sat there long enough for the light to wear the battery down. So if I'm going to keep that car, I'm going to have to put a secondary battery on there that attaches when the ignition turns on, or if the main battery's dead, you can throw a switch and bypass the solenoid and get the other battery connected. Because I don't like that at all. There's just so many reasons that a trunk light or dome light could be left on, but it didn't really take that long either, only about 5 days, and it wore the battery down to the point where nothing would turn on. I recommend watching all YouTube videos alone, because you can get into trouble bursting out laughing at the wrong time. But anyway, that's just my experience. I live alone anyway, so that's not a problem. Well, I see it's 7 minutes to the top of the hour, so this is James, WW7N in Northeast Bellevue. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Dave, KD7ZYM on that control.
ZYM, this is Dave in Lake City. Oh my, listening to thermometers. I've got 3 outside thermometers, and all of them are plus or minus 2 degrees. None of them light up with the same amount in the same area they are. So that's very interesting. And maybe the thermometer for taking temperatures has got a bad battery with it. And speaking of batteries, with Ron, I had a car, Chevy Love once, that would every once in a while it'd go dead, and I'd have to go out and take a wood mallet and bang on the positive head of the terminal of the battery. That seemed to restore the battery. I don't know what it was, probably some loose connection within the battery itself, but banging with a mallet seemed to take care of it, so that was kind of interesting. Oh my, things that we go through. And batteries going dead. I had a car it kept going dead, and I was wondering what in the world was going on. It turned out the light in the glove compartment was on. And so once I removed the bulb out of the glove compartment area, and the light didn't come on anymore, the battery was fine, and the car worked forever. So anyway, that's a place, a hidden light that you never know where it's going to be. This is Dave, KD7ZYM. So let's go back up to Ron, KD7KKU, KD7QKU.
This is Ron, KD7QKU again. Well, for some reason, I don't think it's the battery, but the battery has a cover over it. I mean, I guess I could have found some place to test it, but I didn't mess with it. So I think it's something else. Who knows? Maybe even a computer. The fact that the computer went dead bothers me, and that's what it did the last time. I mean, everything was dead. You know, and then when it did start or work, the computer and everything worked again. So I don't know. But anyway, okay. I guess sorry to hear your wife maybe is not feeling well, Bert. So we have 3 thermometers. We have the old type that you shake down and stick under your tongue and wait 3 minutes. And then somebody bought one that's it's electric. You do kind of the same thing except you stick it in your mouth and it beeps when it's ready. And then when we got COVID around here, I ordered I guess it's a laser one that you just point at your forehead. Well, I noticed right away that it was, 97 something was normal on it for me. And so, so that's what you need to do, I guess, is you need to check yourself when you're normal and then see what that reading is. So, yeah, so you can see if it goes up. Joanne has this blood pressure tester that goes around your wrist, and I don't think it's very accurate. It's about 10 degrees off of the other ones. But it's fine. I mean, it's relative. If your blood pressure shot up to 200 instead of, hers was 119 the other day, and you would know your blood pressure was real high or real low. So that's all that matters. Well, the last time I think I talked to you, my ham radio wasn't working very well. The power cord had crapped out on it, and so I'd ordered a new power cord. Well, the power cord came and it fit just fine, except it was only about 3 feet long. So it had fuse holders in it, and it has fuses in it, and then on the other side of the fuse holders, the wire only stuck out about 6 inches, so I had to chop off my original one and put it on my new one, so it would be about 6 feet long. So anyway, and I put shrink wrap on it and fixed it all nice. And I haven't talked to anybody for a long time to see if something's going to happen, but it appears to work just fine. So I'm happy to have my radio back on the air. All right, I guess that's enough for me. KD7QKU, back to net.
QKU, thanks for that. Let's go to Bert, N7CS in Marysville.
Well, I see the time is ticking away quickly. One other thing I did right before the net was in Marysville, the local ACS chapter, we had a meeting today right before the net. It was an in-person meeting at a fire station that was very close to my house. It was only a few minutes drive away, and we just did some practice radio drills. There were a lot of new people that showed up that weren't ham radio operators, so because of that, we used the city's commercial frequency on that, so they passed out radios to everyone, and we just did a quick drill, pretend like there was an earthquake in Marysville, and talking about the water tower falling over and all this stuff like that. And we were very careful to say this is a drill at the end of everything in case any people with scanners were out there listening to us and wondering what the heck is going on. But anyway, that's it. So I see time's almost up, so 73 all. This is Bert in Marysville, and 7 back to that.
Yes, and it's time to wrap up the net for this evening. This is Dave, KD7ZYM, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. We'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a tone of 103.5 for our communications for our nets held on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7ZYM, terminating the net at 9 o'clock. Good evening all.